Hello everybody, and welcome back to another market analysis for the month of March. Now, throughout much of March, the entire PVM market has been crashing, and that has continued further into the latter half of March. A couple items in particular, just the last couple of weeks, have been hit extremely hard, and we're going to be looking at that. Other interesting developments are the release of the new RuneLite data. So more than ever before, we'll be able to look at a very accurate picture of what the hell has been going on in the OSRS market this month. I have a lot of really interesting price changes I want to show you today. There are some brand new items we're going to have a look at, and just really we'll look at anything interesting in the old school RuneScape economy this month. If you guys liked the video, maybe you should, like the video. I always appreciate it. Anyway guys, let's get started. Now to start things off here, let's have a look at some of the items that have been crashing the quickest. And I think the item that takes the lead here is probably the Harmonized Orb. Now because RuneLite has released up-to-date market data, we now have very accurate data going forward from around mid-March. So what GE Tracker is doing right now is using all of the new data that is available, but filling it in with the historic OS Buddy data. So on the month view, it doesn't look that much different, but if we go down to the week view, you can see that there's just so many more data points. Now the Harmonized Orb has been crashing very hard, especially this week, but I mean for a while now. Pretty much since the beginning of the new year, it has held a fairly steady price at around 850 mil, but just this week, it has managed to crash from 812 mil down to 650 mil in a week, and that is a gargantuan loss of nearly 200 mil. Considering this item has been in the market for a while now, it is very uncommon to see an item lose 25% of its value without a major update coming into the game. And just based on the amount traded, it looks like a lot of players have started to dump their Harmonized Orb in combination with probably flippers attempting to make a profit off of it. Activity in the Harmonized Orb has never been higher. Obviously, it's not just the Harmonized Orb. Another really heavily hit item is the Inquisitors armor set. It was looking pretty good for most of March, but just in the last couple of days, it has crashed a significant amount as well. For the entire Inquisitors set, it went from around 480 mil at the beginning of the week down to 400 mil at the end of the week, which again is a pretty insane loss for only a week. Now, one thing I find really interesting about the Nightmare items, specifically the Inquisitors set and the Inquisitor's mace, is that it kind of has an interesting self-contained value, where one of the primary places where the Inquisitor's armor set is good is actually at the Nightmare, which I think is partly causing such a drastic price change. Not only is the actual GP value of the Inquisitor's armor set dropping, but the actual value of the weapon is also dropping because one of the primary places that you use it is no longer as good GP per hour. This would also work in reverse also. If Nightmare items got buffed or they became more rare, I think the amount it would increase would also be kind of exponential. Now what's also kind of interesting is not all of the Nightmare items are crashing. For example, the Volatile Orb has actually gone up a fair amount. The Eldritch Orb has also gone up, and the Nightmare Staff hasn't really gone up, but hasn't really lost any value either. And personally, I think this more has to do with the fact that the Nightmare Staff, the Volatile Orb, the Eldritch Orb are probably closer to their true value in comparison to something like the Harmonized Orb. The Harmonized Orb was extremely expensive and not that useful in that many places considering its gigantic price tag. And the Inquisitor's armor set and mace you could probably make a similar argument for. So I think they are being hit harder because of that, but in general, the Nightmare items are on a pretty quick decline. Now, another item that has been hit very hard just the last couple of weeks is the Scythe of Vitur. Now, it has been steadily declining all month and has continued to do so just over the last couple of weeks. Last time we checked in, the Scythe was around 600 mil, and now it is worth 540 mil, which again is a pretty significant decline just for 1 week. Now, continuing on with other items that have seen a massive decrease this month, we have the Elysian Spirit Shield. The Elysian has gone from 150 mil all the way down to under $1 billion again, just this month alone. I mean, the Elysian is just incredibly volatile. It's a very rare item. Uses for it pop up occasionally, and that can drive up demand. But really, in the end, I find it pretty hard to determine what the actual value of the Elysian Spirit Shield is right now. Is it worth $1 billion? Maybe. Was it worth 300 mil back 2 years ago or whatever? Maybe, I don't know. I'm really curious to see where this heads though. Now, as for the rest of the PVM market, it's kind of hit and miss right now. Some things seem to have plateaued or even started to go back up. For example, the last week, the Bandos chestplate has actually gone up a fair amount, gaining nearly $1 million this week. Tassets have kind of turned around too and stabilized a bit. Now, personally, I don't think things are going to crash too much further. A lot of these items were still a bit inflated. from 2020 when we got a giant surge in players and just everything started to go back up through the early parts of 2020. And I think a lot of those items are just returning to pre-pandemic levels. Now that's definitely not to say that everything is. Some things are definitely falling further. But just for a quick example here, we have the Bandos chestplate, a very staple PVM item. At today's value, it is worth around 17 mil, which isn't really that abnormal when you look at the grand scheme of things. So in my opinion, I think the overall PVM market may start to bottom out pretty soon here, barring a few major exceptions like the Nightmare items and even the Theater of Blood items. Okay, so moving on here, I'm gonna have a look at a few new items and also items that have been affected by recent content updates. Now, I know we haven't really had a lot of content updates recently, but just a couple days ago, we did get the Shooting Stars update, which did manage to affect the economy. Now, one really interesting item I want to have a look at is actually the Elven Signet. The Elven Signet more than doubled in price just in the last couple of days, and that is mainly due to the new content release of Shooting Stars. Sadly, I only actually had about 3 of these in my bank, or else it would have been an amazing investment. However, one thing I always make sure to invest in is actually a VPN so that I can stay safe and protected online. That's why I am extremely happy to say that Surfshark is sponsoring today's video. Surfshark has many different features that I personally find useful. As somebody who plays, well, a lot of RuneScape, I am usually desperate for content to watch online. Luckily, Surfshark actually allows you to unlock content from all around the world, whether it be on YouTube, which they've actually been area restricting content quite frequently, or of course on Netflix. Surfshark is also a very important tool for staying safe online. They use industry-leading encryption, which protects your data from malicious websites and of course companies. Nowadays, it is pretty important to protect your data because there are many ways where it can be used against you. For example, right now I'm looking to buy some new computer parts to upgrade my computer. However, often what happens is as you show more interest in a certain item, the website will slowly creep up the price. It's a very common tactic, and that is why I always use Surfshark while making any big purchases. So definitely go check them out with the link in my description. Right now they even have a pretty big discount on offer, which will give you 83% off and 3 months for free. And thank you once again to Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so for the Elven Signet, one update came out recently that caused it to over double in price, and that is the Shooting Stars update. Now, one thing that kind of flew under the radar, I think, at least for me, is the fact that you can combine the Celestial Ring, which is the new item you get from the mining activity, with the Elven Signet. Now, this was done to prevent a conflict between these two items because a lot of people probably wouldn't opt to wear the new item if you couldn't actually wear the Elven Signet at the same time. So to fix this, they allow you to combine the two items together. However, the Elven Signet is only obtainable from a crystal implane, which is not very common, which has caused the price to go up very quickly. At the beginning of the week, it was worth around 1.1 mil, and now it is worth pretty much 3 mil, pretty much tripling in value. Okay, another really interesting item here is actually the Black Chinchompa. The Black Chinchompas have gone up a ton this month, going from around 2.2k up to 2.8k at its peak, which is a really big increase and finally countering a year-long slump. Now, somebody can definitely correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think a large contributing factor is the new 6 Jad challenge. Now, I haven't tried it yet, but I believe actually Chinchompas is one of the better ways to get rid of the healers, which I think could have had a fairly significant effect on the price. I mean, this is definitely a significant increase, and it started around when the new challenge was released on March 2nd. Now, with the Shooting Stars update, there was actually a few other quality of life changes and just minor changes from poll number 74. And with it, we actually received 2 new items. 2 jars. We have the Jar of Smoke and the Jar of Spirits. The Jar of Smoke is from the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, and the Jar of Spirits is from the Corporal Beast. Now we can see the first couple sold for actually around 12 mil, which is definitely more than they're worth. The Jar of Smoke then very quickly declined to around 1.3 mil, and I'm sure it's going to be next to worthless in the next couple of months. Now the Jar of Spirits is clearly going to be a bit rarer just because the Corporal Beast is a lot harder to kill. Now that jar started at nearly 25 mil, however, again, dropped very quickly down to around 5 or 6 mil. The jars don't have that much value, and even as a cosmetic item, most people aren't gonna ever really see it unless they come to your house. So normally they don't have much value. Now the new data is just truly amazing. I really don't think previously we'd be able to see kind of just micro trends like that. This is the Dragon Pickaxe we're looking at right now, and this is the release date of the Shooting Stars update. Not a significant change by any means, but we can see when the update came out, the price shot up by around 500k, and then immediately went back down to where it was. Just a minor blip in demand caused by the update being released and players wanted to get a Dragon Pickaxe. In the end though, I don't think it ended up being useful, so it dropped right back down. Now another item I always like to have a look at is the OSRS bond. Now if I can recall correctly, I'm pretty sure the bond is following a very similar trend to last year. It didn't actually bottom out in January or February, it looks like it may actually bottom out in April. For example, if we look back last year, we can see the prices were at their lowest April and even kind of into May. So this year it looks like something similar is happening. Right now bonds are actually down to around 4.5 mil, which is the cheapest they've been in, well, almost a year. So if you were looking to bond up an account, maybe try to get out of free-to-play, now is probably going to be one of the better times to do it, although I do expect bonds to continue crashing for a couple more months. So anyway guys, that is pretty much going to be it for today's video. We're going to try to continue on with maybe a market update every 2 weeks or so. A lot has been happening recently, so of course I want to keep you guys up to date. As always, thanks for watching guys, and I will see you next time. Now, before I go here, I want to give a massive thank you to all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to one of my newest members, Sage's Reign, for subscribing at the Dragon tier. Thank you so much, man. They're joining Colin Corley, Timothy Chen, Cappy, Guy Fox 1227, Valhalla Lad, Brian Robinson, Brad Sings, Ocelot, and Kush Patel, all at the Dragon tier. Thank you again, you guys are awesome. Also a huge shout out to All Things Gaming, Birdbot, and Base Titch for subscribing at the Runite tier. As always guys, if you're looking for another way to support the channel, becoming a YouTube member is an awesome way to do so. You can become immortalized in all of my future videos, get access to my video release schedule, and of course get a custom role in my Discord server. Thanks again guys, and I'll see you next time.